everyone. This is Charles Litchfield of the Geoeconomic Center of the Atlantic Council. We've moved back to our atrium studio in the IMF. We're extremely happy and grateful to the Finance Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Marchenko, for having come to see us. You've been very busy, as you always are at these meetings, but you're here for a few minutes just to give us an update on how things are. Thank you, Minister. The last time we met in Q1 of this year, 2024, Ukraine had a number of financial pressures, cash flow issues, because of the uncertainty around the US supplemental. There wasn't the same certainty around EU payments then. Now you have more certainty, but can you tell us what things are looking like for Q1 2025?
Thank you very much. It's very important to track these messages because it was not easy in April. Definitely, we have a lot of troubles. We should resolve a lot of issues. But the solutions which were proposed by the United States, extraordinary revenue acceleration, help us at least to think about some possible relief. As a minister, I can feel relief in 2025 because it provides us $50 billion US, and part of it from the United States. It was like a message from Janet Yellen, Secretary of Treasury, and I hope it will help us not only to cover our budget needs, but partly utilize this money for a midterm perspective, 2026 and 2027. So with our definite interest to have this money, of course our general intention, at least part of this money to spend on some reconstruction needs as well.
Thank you. So just to give our viewers some perspective, $50 billion compared to the Ukrainian budget of this year is quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
You want to keep it for the next few years. But can you give us a little more sense of the allocation of the $50 billion? I know this is still under discussion, but maybe you have some preferences.
Well, our key preferences is to cover our budget needs,
Yes.
priority number one. Of course, there are some discussions about additional military needs, but I think it should be resolved differently. And also, part of this money probably should be used on some reconstruction.
Thank you. There was also some good news last week as you cleared your review with the IMF. There was the staff level agreement and last week the executive agreement. Any comments on that and where you see things going with your IMF relationship in the next few months?
Well, now situation is quite under control. We fulfilled all of our commitments. We meet all of our structural benchmarks, and I don't envisage any particular issues before sixth review. So we're expecting IMF mission in Kiev in November, and then I hope that it will be a successful review of IMF program. I haven't have any practical obstacles which we can't resolve.
Very good news. We don't have much time, but I wanted to talk to you about how the World Bank is helping, and then just a slightly more general question on reconstruction, and then we'll let you go back to your next meeting. So on the World Bank, you've just mentioned the IMF, but how is the World Bank fitting into the picture? Where does the World Bank help, and what are your discussions with the World Bank like this week?
Well, our partners from World Bank help us to maximize effects of money which we channel towards them. It's not money from World Bank Group, it's money which our partners provided for World Bank, guarantees provided to World Bank, and then we structure different projects with World Bank. Specifically, we are talking about peace project, which cover our social humanitarian expenses. Also, there are a lot of other projects which specifically determined to help to cover some needs in different areas: healthcare, social protection, different reforms also related to this. We have a DPO with World Bank, and now we implemented all of our commitments to have money to be disbursed until the end of the year.
Okay. And the final question is on the recovery. I understand Ukraine is still fighting Russia's illegal full-scale invasion. The recovery conference in Berlin, which I was at, you were there too, did provide some concrete solutions to immediate problems, advancing slightly on the war insurance question. But I'm curious how your finance ministry fits in preparing for the Rome summit, so the next URC next summer. We're almost halfway between Berlin and Rome. What do you think are the relevant ideas that everyone needs to be working on? Understanding the war is still going on, but what can be achieved on the recovery side?
Well, It's a good question because every time we when we try to think about new ideas, I would prefer me to think what we already achieved, what memorandum and agreement we signed during Berlin and London, and for us it's necessary to make it implemented more than just try to elaborate for future ideas. That's why
Any specific
Yeah.
things you're
well,
focusing on?
specific things in my mind that we should prioritize our efforts. Now, government of Ukraine develop public invest management structure. We have single project pipeline, and we have very clear priority. In more specific areas, we see necessity to attract additional donors funds. And we also think that it's a good way forward in comparison what we have during last conference. So now it's like very simple and easy to track where we are now, what's the level of implementation. Now we are talking about project preparation unit in the government of Ukraine. We should establish this unit. So a lot of should be done, but definitely we shouldn't try to create some new vehicle in Rome. We should track our decisions which were made during London, Berlin, and then to think about how to implement
Move on
it
to
before
Rome.
the Rome.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll make progress on all of these things in the months to come. The Atlantic Council will certainly try to help. We're very grateful to the Minister for his time. Very busy week for you, so thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
And back to the Atlantic Council for the next event. Thank you for tuning in.